Right. It might well be the biggest tournament on earth taking place at the moment. So obviously it'd be remiss of us here at ShrimpNet not to be obviously discussing the penalty defeat to Lincoln in the Papa John's Trophy, which we were all disappointed with. But so thanks for listening to us. Joining us this week, I'm very excited to say, at Trust Towers to chat all things shrimpy with Joel and myself. I'm delighted to say we welcome the thinking woman's favourite boardroom pin-up, the fragrant and sharply dressed James Wakefield. James, welcome along.
Good evening, David.
Thank you. It's not an evening when they're listening to this, but we can say we're recording this while watching the second half of Brazil versus Serbia.
Absolutely.
Which has been a little bit dull, gentlemen, but there we go. Also joining us, our dressing room confidant this week is our top scoring loanee, Jensen Weir. Welcome along, Jensen.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you for agreeing to it. We'll start as we need to go on. It's been an exciting week. Let's go to Lincoln, then let's come back and let's go to Lincoln again. We'll start with the 2-1 defeat on Saturday, which was, frustrating and annoying in equal parts, Joel.
Yeah, I remember on the way, kind of in the lead up to the game, speaking to Lincoln fans, and the impression they gave was that they're not that great at breaking teams down, but they're quite good at being quite hard to break down themselves. So them getting that early goal really played into that. I felt that really played into their kind of game plan for them. It meant they could just sit back and be hard to break down, maybe play on the break a bit. So yeah, losing that early goal was a bit of a big one, really. But I think you got to say, in fairness to Lincoln, I think you could tell that it felt like their manager had definitely said to them, go out, start fast, try and get that early lead so we have someone to sit back on, because they did start really, really fast. And now in those first kind of 10, 15 minutes, they were really aggressive. They were pushing hard in our half. To be honest, not too dissimilar to how we play to how things panned out when we played them last season, to be honest, at their place. But yeah, I thought they did start impressively. I don't know if that kind of caught us out a little bit, but yeah, they it was impressive how they started. And while the goal itself is kind of lucky, really, isn't it? It's a free kick. It doesn't look like it's really going to trouble Ripley too much. I think it takes deflection of the ball, then kind of goes inside and takes a deflection of somebody who's running into the box. So, it's just you do curse your luck a little bit when things like that happen. At the same time, they put the pressure on Lincoln. They were getting the ball up in our final third a lot. So you do have to give credit to them. And then from then on, it was kind of a case of us trying to break them down. And I think the tricky thing is that's not something we've really had to do very much this season. We're usually the team playing on the counter a bit more. So I think the team did try. I think they did well to kind of try and work some openings. There was a few moments, but it was always going to be tough. And fair play, Lincoln. They did defend well, get that second goal on the break. Well, not quite on the break, but when we committed a few more numbers forward, and yeah, it just kind of killed the game a little bit, really. And obviously, great strike from Jensen. Left foot again. So I know, yeah. But it's going to pull this back in at this, but yeah, it's not been quite enough in the end. And I think we saw how resilient their defense can be, Lincoln, when we had that little period in stoppage time when we were just like peppering their box with balls, and everything was just coming straight back out. And yeah, they were just very hard to break down.
I think it is worth mentioning. Obviously, we had a nice little move. Kieran Phillips obviously hit the post. That was a really nice move. Cole did his traditional 35-yarder, which hit the post. And I think it's worth mentioning that because we had more of the ball, you're quite right, Joel, and I thought we used it quite well. I thought the returning Jake Taylor, along with Jensen and along with Liam, we kept the ball pretty well and used the width quite well. But I could see why he swapped it and brought Arthur and Cole on for the second half. And to a certain extent, it did work, didn't it? But sometimes, there and our old managers have all said the same things, and they're right. It's fine margins. It's literally 3 inches either way, and all of a sudden, either of those that hit the post go in. The save by Connor Ripley for their second goal, if it goes a a foot either side of that guy. He's not tapping it in, but it went straight to him and he tapped it in. And I just think I was sort of sat watching it, cursing, saying, well, when are we going to get, our luck has got to change sometime. And it is just that luck. I thought we did enough to at least get a point. James?
Yeah, I agree. I think Lincoln did a bit of a Morecambe on us, to be fair. They got the goal and then they defended really well. And we did create chances, but we can't sort of, claim we deserve the 3 points when we play that way and then, claim that the other team doesn't when they play that way. I think it was a decent game of football. It's good to see that we can play a different way. And you're right, fine margins. It could have been 2-1 one way or the other very, very easily. This isn't something that I've thought of. It's something I've stolen off Tom. But I've got to ask Jensen, which is your best foot? Because we can't work it out.
You ruined it. That's my question.
Honestly, against Bristol, you shove it in the top corner with your right foot, and that shot the other day was an absolute stunner. I'm sounding like a fanboy now, but I am being a fan now. It was a beaut.
You've completely ruined it now.
Sorry. You didn't tell me that before. Which is your best foot?
No, I'm right-footed. I am right-footed, but to be fair,
you've done it twice. That was an absolute beaut.
I know. To be fair, just generally, I can shoot. I know I can shoot off right, and left's never as good as my right. But to be fair, I've caught a few quite well, and if you hit the target, then it's up to the keeper to make a save, isn't it? So
that's one way.
True.
Yeah.
But in credit to you, you didn't just hit the target. They were both right in the bottom corner.
Popped it in the bottom corner from 22 yards. Literally popped it in the corner. It's lovely. Anyway, the fanboy aside, it could easily have been 2-1 either way. I thought it was a better game of football than some people thought. And I was watching it. I was watching it on TV. I wasn't able to get there, so I was seeing it in glorious Technicolor with the bigger perspective that you get from watching it on TV. Could easily have been 2-1 either way. The big thing for me is we're not getting humped by anybody anymore. We're playing well. We're competing in every game in the league, and that's the most important thing for me.
Well, James, if you watched on iFollow as I did and listened to the commentary, I listened to the Lincoln commentary, and they were very, very, very complimentary. Very complimentary. They said that this was a better Morecambe team than we expected. We kept the ball really well. We caused them problems. And they, at the final whistle went, and they said, well, to be fair, Morecambe, if they carry on playing like that, they'll do okay. And that was the theme of the day, Jensen. You must have come away thinking, what do we have to do?
No, I was completely the same, to be fair. I just thought, with Key's chance and then Cole's shot from far out, both at the post and they're both close, on a different day that they both go in, and we're in the game. And then the last 20 minutes, we're putting them under the cosh a bit. So I think something drops, obviously I scored, but I had another chance where I've put it over the stand. So sometimes they drop, and I just thought, I think, as you've both said, everyone said, I think we'll start to turn our way in terms of little things like that, hitting the post and stuff. But yeah, I would agree. It's just the fine margins, but I think we're definitely on the right path. I think the performance was there. I think we can still be more clinical in the final third and finish a few chances that we get, even when some don't go our way. But we're definitely on the right path.
And looking at the league table now, gents, obviously there's a bottom clutch of teams, and then there's a bit of a gap opening up. And I think it's important, but particularly, I know, people do say that sort of Christmas is time to take stock and look at where you are in the league, etc., etc. And that isn't, that's only halfway through the season, which it is. But it would be nice to sort of start picking up some. But I say it every week. The ones we should be drawing, we're losing, and the ones we're drawing, we should be winning. And it's the game, but it's true, isn't it, Jensen?
No, you're right.
We've not played badly in. Well, I think probably our last poor performance was Cheltenham, which wasn't great, where they didn't turn up, we didn't turn up, and it was a bit scrappy game. But since then, we've put in some really half decent performances. And teams around us are not picking points up, but that's why we're all sort of a little bit adrift now. And I think it's important that we sort of keep in touch, Joel.
Yeah, I think I kind of see, personally, I see Ipswich as a bit of a turning point. I think for me, that's when performances really started to pick up quite a lot, because the way we competed with Ipswich on that day was really, really impressive. And I think since then, I think the two performances that stick out as quite disappointing are the Burton and Cheltenham performances. But aside from that, I think there's been a massive improvement in performances over the past couple of months since that Ipswich game on compared to earlier in the season. So I think at the end of the day, it's a tricky one because the results haven't come, and it's very easy to kind of look back at those and kind of get angry and be like, what's gone wrong, can tear everything up and everything. But at the same time, I think at the end of the day, the most you'll give yourself the best chance of winning games and getting more points on the board by playing well. And we have been playing better over this past couple of months since, I think, Ipswich. So it's frustrating that the wins haven't quite come, especially that Portsmouth game. That I'm still getting over that a little bit. But yeah, it's frustrating that they've not quite come. But at the same time, performances are improving, and that's it. Things have got to start somewhere. And I think we can see the improvements there. And generally, if you play better, you'll get more points on the board. So hopefully that will start to come into effect a bit more over the next couple of months.
And it is, like I say, running up to Christmas. We're quite lucky this week because we got knocked out of the FA Cup at Sheffield Wednesday. We've got a bit of a luxury of a free week, James. And at this time of year, that can be, particularly with injuries and stuff like that, it can be quite valuable.
Yeah, and Derek does like to utilise a break, doesn't he? So yeah, but I think the break is handy. It's going to be a tough run in for the team to the halfway point of the season. I think halfway point is Aki at home, and then at that point we should take a look at where we are. Gaps at this stage. There's still 5 games to the halfway point. It's too early to talk about that. And every single year, 2 or 3 teams will plummet, and a couple of teams will rise, and that's just the reality of it. And it could all be completely different in 2 months' time. So it's too early to talk about the sort of the gap opening up in the table. When we've got 6, 7, 8 games left and there's a gap, then we're in trouble. But to be fair, we were in that position last year. But a break is handy, really, really good. And the biggest thing for me in the last few weeks has been the fact that Jensen will be able to comment with more knowledge on this. There's options on the bench, and it's not like sort of options that are knackered or not fully fit. There's actually fit options on the bench. We've got players who can come on and freshen up and change things. And we didn't have that 6 weeks ago. When we played against Ipswich at home, we did not have a full bench of players, and I'm not convinced that the bench we did have was actually fit. So there's options on the bench, and that makes a huge difference now. So this break is hopefully going to be really helpful.
Do you know, has the gaffer said anything to you about plans or do you get the weekend off, Jensen?
We're in tomorrow, and then we've actually got the weekend off. Yeah, so it'd be nice to get a little break, and then full focus for Exeter. I think. Yeah,
that'll be good. That would be good. And just for a little bit of history, Derek does like his breaks because we were floundering in the league. Until we had an enforced break was it February?
It was in March, wasn't it?
Early March.
April.
And we had an enforced break where we actually international break where we got like 12 days off. And I don't know what Derek did, whether he took everybody aside and slapped them about a bit or gave them ketamine or what. I've no idea, but it worked because we came back and won a couple of games and started picking up points, and lo and behold, we survived. So I no doubt Derek has got a plan. So Gaffer, if you're listening, do what you did last season. That'll do. We'll move on. Obviously, fantastic going to Lincoln twice in 4 days. Bit of a nightmare. Not the easiest place to get to. Miles off the motorway, etc., etc. But we drew them, as our luck seems to be going with the cup competitions at the moment. We've had our cup luck a couple of seasons running, and we got drawn away at Lincoln and the Papa Johns. It was a chance to progress and earn some much valued revenue, but I think there was 26 there in the end, 26 in the away end, which is a brilliant turnout twice in 4 days, and unlucky on penalties, Joel. And again, probably marked by the reappearance of Mr. Stockton on the score sheet.
Yeah, there's a little. Lincoln's a nice little place. I've got family from there, and nice castle, nice cathedral. But yeah, twice in about 3 or 4 days, isn't that great? But at the same time, it is worth going back for, like you say, seeing Cole Stockton get off the mark for this season, which I know we've spoken about things not quite falling our way. I think that one was one that kind of, it was a bit of a ricochet in the box, and it did just fall nicely for him. And I think it's a bit of a cliche when people say, you know, you just need one to go in off your arse or something like that. That wasn't quite that, but it just fell nicely in the box. Good angle for him to hit it out, just get his laces through it, keep it low, goal, and that's him off for the season. So yeah, while the result isn't, you know, it's not the one we wanted, at least some positive has come from the night. And I think we've seen with all the Papa John's games this season, I think
it was written it was going to go to penalties, wasn't it?
Obviously it had to go to penalties, but I think just in intensity wise, you do see a drop off in the Papa John's games compared to the league games. I think from all the teams I've seen in the competition. So I think a draw was probably a fair result from the game overall. There probably wasn't very much in it. They've had a couple of decent chances. Then right at the end, Shaw's had a header from very close range that could well have won it for us. You know, he wasn't far away from that at all. So frustrating to go out on pens and see our absolutely pretty ridiculously good penalty shootout record this season kind of finish. But you know what? I mean, 3 out of 4 penalty shootout wins is, that's not bad, is it? But yeah, shame it had to come to an end last night. But like you say, I think ultimately the focus is going to be in the league. The money would have been appreciated, but yeah, penalties. I think we've used up our luck. We were saying we've used up our luck for cup draws. I was going to say we've used up our luck for penalties, but I don't think we have actually. They've all been really good penalties. That's skill, not luck.
Yeah, true. And they were good penalties.
They were good penalties, yeah. And just on the night,
unfortunately, theirs were good as well.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the annoying thing. Theirs were good. And actually, they got a little bit of luck, didn't they, with that one sneaking under Adam Smith?
The one that Smithy got.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, just a little bit unfortunate there for Smith. But yeah, shame to go out. But I guess the main focus is the league at the moment, isn't it?
I liked somebody. I think it might have been Richard Allen on Twitter. Actually did say, disappointed to be out of the cup, but I had a Papa John's pizza and I'm never having another. It was awful. So there you go. He was trying to back the sponsor, and because we got knocked out, he slagged the pizzas off. But
yeah, but that is. I can't remember his tweet, but it is actually true. The night before, there were a few of us in the pub, and we did order Papa John's pizza, and then we did consequently get knocked out of the Papa John's trophy. So yeah, I'm afraid I will.
Was it as bad as he said?
I can't remember. I'd had a bit to drink, but
that's fair enough.
I'll be sticking to Domino's for the rest of the season, I reckon.
Yeah, fair enough. James, disappointed to go out, but when there are bigger fish to fry, it was nice while it lasted.
Yeah, absolutely, and we've been spoiled the last couple of years with cup runs that have culminated in last season. We were like minutes away from beating a Premier League team. We've been slightly spoiled by that, but we still had three decent cup runs, and it was nice to get to the knockout stages of this one. And it's good to see Derek utilising the full squad and giving everybody the chance to have a run out as well. So yeah, it's disappointing to lose any game, but the league is the absolute 100% got to be the focus from now on. And I won't be too disappointed that we haven't got those Tuesday night, those midweek fixtures being shoehorned in, because other teams with 30, 35, 40-man squads, it's easy for them. It's not so easy with a smaller squad.
No, particularly with the injuries that we've had up to this point. Yes, we've got people coming back, Max Melbourne and Jake Taylor, but we have been in a situation where, as you quite rightly said, Adam May has pushed himself into the first team picture almost by default, because the simple fact is he needed to be played. Derek not afraid to give people chances, and he's taken his chance, and now he's classed as a first team player, which is fantastic. But I don't think he maybe had have actually got his opportunity without all the injuries.
No, maybe not. But then isn't that the way with lots of young players? You could go back through his history books and find players like Ryan Giggs, and they'll probably have got their chance because somebody more senior was injured, and that's the reality of it. But you're absolutely right. He's seized it, and and that's wonderful to see. So yeah, but we can now absolutely 100% focus on the league, and stop talking about survival. That word is, I don't want that word to be mentioned. I just want to be good and move up the league.
This is me concentrating on the league face. There you go. Be impressed.
I like it.
Yeah.
Can't be actually, that's the point. You can't be talking about survival in November. It's still the 24th of November. There's no such thing as survival in November.
No, is there? Nobody's no, you don't lose a game and that's us down, do you? No, it's ridiculous. But I wasn't, you know, you're quite right. I'm being devil's advocate because some, you know, you reflect it, and some people on Twitter and some people on the message boards, etc., are all doom and gloom. And you know we're not on here. You know, it's not over till the fat lady sings, and she's not even warming up as yet. There's no problem. But I mean, coming to Jensen now, backwards way round, we'd have taken a point on Saturday and then lose 2-1 on Tuesday night, wouldn't we? Really?
Yeah, definitely. I think, to be fair, I think the performance on Saturday was probably better than the performance on Tuesday. But
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but yeah, so it's a tough one, really. It's a bit of a strange one. With pens, you never really know. Like, pens can kind of go either way. But to be fair, going into pens, like, off this season, you'd definitely back us. You'd be like, as you said about the record, you'd definitely be going, this is us, this. And like two of their pens, like readable pens, and then just slip under Smudge's hand, which is a bit unfortunate. But apart from that, like, yes, it's a close one, really. But yeah.
I mean, we're sad to be out of any cup competition, but like James said, I agree with him completely. The plus side is that gets rid of a load of Tuesday nights, and you never know. We haven't had a severe winter for 4 or 5 years. If we get a severe winter, we don't want to be in the Papa John's and then having 10 fixtures cancelled and we're playing 3 games a week in April and May when we're needing the points. That's my positive spin on that, by the way.
I agree with you. And apparently we are due a tough winter because it's been so mild so far.
Yes,
and we might be okay in Morecambe because close to the sea, but it only takes a couple of games to be cancelled, and it all gets horrible in the new year. So
exactly.
So yeah, I never want to be out of any competition. Want to win every single game, obviously, but the league is the focus now, and we can focus on that and nothing else.
Right, we'll have a bit of a chat with Jensen. Jensen, obviously son of a famous Scottish international father, but your dad was in the Northwest when you were born, is that right?
Yeah, he was at when I was born, he was at Everton, so he was based around here. So I grew up around here, so yeah, I'm familiar. Like, when I knew I was coming back to Morecambe, it's quite nice, really. I'm still at home, so
I'm going to say
kind of worked out well.
You've got a fantastic sort of northern accent, which is quite nice. I was like, oh yeah, well obviously, you know, Glasgow Rangers, you know, and blah blah blah. I thought he might have a touch of Scottish there, but no, you're definitely Northwest. All right, lads. All right, yeah, you know. So
yeah, no.
So being the son of an international footballer, did you always, when you were young, were you like, my dad's a footballer, I'm going to be a footballer, or did he encourage you? Did he just say, find your own path? What happened?
No, he was never pushing for me to play football. I've got like siblings as well that play football as well, but my dad was never like forcing us to play football. It was always our choice, and he was always more education, really. It was always like, make sure you're in school and you're doing your work and you're doing your homework. That was always the focus, and then, you know, go and play football in the garden with your brother and your sister, and then like whatever happens, happened, really. And then my brother, we were at Wigan for a long time, and then my sister's at Everton now. She's been at Everton for a while, so yeah, a few footballers in my family, but yeah, just kind of playing from young and naturally, not forced, just naturally.
And I noticed, sort of doing a bit of a history search, you've plumped for England, and obviously England under 20s, England under 17s, etc. What did your dad say to that?
I know. I knew this was going to come up, to be fair, but no. To be fair, he was actually okay with it at the time. He was. It was more of a, like, he didn't take it. He was never going to be horrible. He was never going to turn around and be like, you know, you've made the wrong choice, or but he's always pushing for me to play for Scotland. But he kind of came to his head and went, it's your kind of decision. Make your decision. And yeah, at the time I went with England, so yeah, we'll see what happens.
Well, how did you come to that decision? Because you were born here, but obviously, I mean, just watching the World Cup recently, you found out, for instance, tea time, Tariq Lamptey, Ghanaian parents, born in England, never been to Ghana in his life, but has picked Ghana because he thought he'd stand a better chance of being an international there, which is fair enough. And obviously, he's at your parent club at Brighton.
Yeah, no, it's the football is definitely the most important bit where you feel like you're going to play more. And I'm guessing for Tariq, he just kind of felt like he was going to get more opportunity with Ghana. So yeah, I don't know. I just felt like when I was younger, there was more opportunity for me to play for England and playing big competitions and play more games, like more camps every year. And for my development, that was the best thing for me. I think playing on, I went to a Euros at 17s, which is like unforgettable experience for me, which I've always like said is one of the best things I've done in football to date. And I remember it so well, and I enjoyed it so much. And then just all the camps and stuff as well, like just everything, the players that you play with and stuff. And no disrespect to Scotland, obviously there's some great players there as well, but some of the England youth setup, some of the players that you're playing against in training every day is scary, really, the level and stuff. And it's good for me to test myself at that. Well, it was at the time anyway, and it's helped me definitely in the longer term.
And obviously, getting the call up for the under-20s last year, that must have been great as well, because obviously it's justified your choice.
Yeah, it's that was a big moment. To be fair, it was. You never really know with England because people always players always come up every year, and some people that you never heard of always turn up, and they always start doing well. And but yeah, it was nice for me to start playing. And played a. Can't remember how many games I played last year, but I played a few, I think maybe. But yeah, it's always good to get called up for any country, so they never turn that down.
So moving on to, obviously, as you said, you were a youngster at Wigan, and Brighton came in and offered what is quite a lot of money for a young person. Probably a big upheaval moving to the South Coast, having been based in the Northwest.
Yeah, it was. At the time, it was not rush, but it was a very quick decision. Wigan had just gone into administration, and I was kind of the first one to leave. So it was I think a decision made over 4 or 5 days.
So you were sold as a keep the club alive then. Pretty
much, yeah. That was kind of how they funded the rest of the season. So for me, that's a nice thing, though. I think a club that I've been at for so long, I think that's the least I could do because they've done a lot for me, and it was a great club, and I really enjoyed my time there. But yeah, it was a big thing moving to the South Coast, and I wouldn't change my decision, and I've loved every minute of it down there. To be fair,
yeah. And I know they think a lot of you there, and obviously you spent some time at Cambridge United and helped set up their goal of the season at the Mazuma last season. Thanks a lot.
I know, yeah, there's some finish to be fair, but.
It was some finish, but we all, at the time, I was sat with my missus and I went, he mistrapped that, but made the most of it. Was I right?
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard mixed reviews, to be fair. Some people saying the touch is unbelievable, and then some are saying, surely didn't mean that. But I'm sure Morecambe fans are going to be siding with one side of that story.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. It was a lucky touch.
Yeah, it was. He flicked it up in the air, but his finish was fantastic. But it was. If my first touch was that bad, I'd probably even when I was young, I'd have probably got done for a foul because I could never catch it. But there you go. So, was it an easy decision when we came in then, saying, "No, you can come back to the Northwest and get some more experience"? In what is a very competitive division with some really good players in it.
Yeah, it was a decision I didn't take quickly, but yeah, it was definitely the right decision, and it wasn't like there was nothing much I was thinking about. It was just more of a whether I needed to go out that soon or because just coming off the back of an injury. I had an injury in January. I had an operation on my knee, so coming back from that, it was more the decision was slower based on that really, whether I needed to stay in longer, wait till January, and then build up fitness through the 23s but I feel like the decision I made is definitely the right decision, and I just wanted to get out and play as much as I could. And I felt like Morecambe, I spoke to the manager, and I spoke to a few people that had like in the past had been at the club. Pete Murphy, people like Pete Murphy. I spoke to Pete Murphy. He was at me in Wigan, so I spoke to him just about the club, and then came to the decision to come. And yeah, I think I've made the right decision, definitely.
Well, you cemented the place pretty quickly, didn't you? And you've been a first choice ever since.
Yeah, no, it's nice to be in the team, but like, as I learned last year, you can be in the team and then 2 games later you can be out of the team, so you can never take anything for granted. So, but obviously, I like that. I like that about football, that you have to kind of cement your place in the team. So I'm trying to do everything I can to stay in the team for as long as I can.
Well, with the amount of starts you've had, and with you being what you would class as a midfielder who's top scorer, I think you're pretty safe, man. So, seeing as James has stolen my question about which foot you prefer, we know it's your right. I'll change my last question now and say, let's talk about your home debut against Stoke City and them 2 yellows.
Oh no.
Because
That was horrible.
I like to keep it positive, but yeah, I like the way you just set yourself up with that. Like, I want to cement my place in the team, and you made your home debut. And I was like, oh my God, he's going to get sent off here. And everybody was like, no. Talk us through that.
That was horrible, to be fair. I don't know, to be fair, like me going back to that game now, like I don't remember it as clear as possible, but I just remember I remember the first foul, and the first foul was really, I personally thought it was really light. I thought the second one was more of a foul than the first one, and I get that, but it was just one of them things. Like it just happened so quickly, and I didn't even think like. I think the second one, because it's round the Stoke fans and it's down that end, it was a stupid tackle to make, but like I don't know, it wasn't a nice moment really, but it didn't help your first game at home getting 2 yellow cards in the space for a minute, getting sent off. It's not ideal at all.
No, that was my point, in the fact that you're probably right about the first one. The first one was pretty soft, and I thought they got away with similar offences without getting yellow cards. But then within about 90 seconds, I was like, oh God. So when you got back to the dressing room, did you sort of like, oh, sorry, lads, well done on the penalties?
Yeah, I was kind of just in the change room, like just sat there, head down, and I think Baz came in, spoke to me, saying like just normal stuff, and then I was like, when you're in the change room, all you can hear is the sounds, and like some of the fans were like going up, like as if there was a chance, and I was just like, oh please just don't, please just don't score, and then when it went to pens, I was like, all right, please just don't lose, and then to be fair, when we won, it kind of takes the pressure off a bit.
Yeah, quite right. It's certainly a home debut you'll never forget. Put it that way.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Right, Joel, all yours.
Yeah, I remember that first yellow card, and it was definitely very, very harsh. That first
It was
yellow,
soft.
definitely.
It was soft.
Yeah, I thought so.
And a bit of a throwback there to Peter Murphy as well. I've forgotten about him. He was very, very unfortunate with us, wasn't he?
Oh
with
God, he was. Yeah, good player.
Good player, really good player. Yeah, we sorted a lot of issues out in the midfield. But yeah, over to Jensen now. So I was having a look, and I saw that you made your debut for Wigan at age 15, which is, I think, I'm guessing he's probably still the record for the youngest ever debutant for Wigan. So what was that like, making your debut at such a young age?
It was good, to be fair. It was Accrington at home, and I don't know, like going into the game, I didn't think too much of it, but no, obviously it was a nice moment. My mum and some friends went to the game, so from a general perspective, it was a really nice moment for me and my family. It was a good moment, and I enjoyed it. And yeah, it was the club I've been at for so long, and I genuinely enjoyed every moment I was at Wigan. Like I genuinely had a great time there, and yeah, it was really good. And I actually played all right as well, so I was buzzing.
Yeah. So I get, is it when you're that young coming on against like growing up a lot of far older players? Is that a bit of a shock coming out of playing from youth football?
Yeah, it is. It's different really when you come from academy football to first team football. Like the physical side's a lot different. You just kind of have to get used to like a bit more like like shoulders getting barged off the ball and stuff. And like at 15, you kind of it's quite tough to get used to that so quickly. But it was great experience for me. I know. Yeah, and I enjoyed it as well. But even like I played more games after that, and every game I played, it was just good for me to kind of get that exposure to first team football, as you say.
Yeah, I guess it's in the long run and everything. So obviously there's the kind of physical side of it, and the differences between academy and first team men's football. But would you say there are any kind of other key differences, like maybe tactically or like the way you kind of position yourself on the pitch or things like that?
Yeah, no, you definitely have to think about that more, because I think from the difference from academy football to men's football, and the difference between the leagues, is probably like if you make a mistake or you're out of position tactically, then that just kind of gives the opposition a chance at your goal. And I think like you can't, in generally in football, you have to be switched on like without the ball, because it's just, even when you're not, like if you're not switched on, it's a nightmare. Like you just feel like you're not very helpful in the game. Like you can't really get your whereabouts. Like your stuff with the ball kind of comes with the stuff without the ball. Like you need to get that sorted first, and then you can kind of build with the ball. But yeah, it's definitely very important, and that's why at such a young age it was good for me to kind of get that exposure to the first team football, to kind of pick up them little bits.
So yeah, so I guess it's like saying earlier on, like if you just make a little mistake with your position or whatever, you're just so likely to get punished, I guess, because there's that kind of competitive edge to it all, and everybody's really kind of gunning for it and wanting to be clinical.
Yeah, no, you summed it up well there. To be fair, that's literally it. Like just making sure you switched on, little areas where you can, like better areas to lose the ball and where not to lose the ball and stuff, and like that. Yeah, just all them bits. Yeah.
Yeah, when to, I think, as people probably like to say, when to smash it into rose ed. So, with your position itself, I remember when you came to the club, like there was quite a lot of there was people saying you were defensive midfielder. There was people saying you're more a bit further up. So where do you kind of see yourself as like your kind of preferred position in midfield?
I like playing in a two. To be fair, I've liked playing in a two with Shawsey, and I like getting the ball deep and playing with the team, but at the same time I like getting to the box and being around the box and trying to affect the goal as well. That's something I've been trying to add to my game, especially this year. And to be fair, I've done all right at it so far. But yeah, trying to be around the box, um, but also trying to get on the ball and start play as well. So I don't know how to kind of sum that up in a few words. Really, it's a bit of everything. But no, I like that flexibility of being starting a game, but then being around the box as well. So kind of, I'd say a box to box eight.
Yeah, so I guess it's like you say in recent matches. That's pardon me, sorry. It is kind of very much what you've been doing with Liam, showing that it's kind of like with him. Is it kind of like a case of like one of you goes deep and takes the ball, and the other might push forward a bit further?
Yeah, to be fair, we've worked it quite well this season. Like there's like obviously the Portsmouth game, shows he scores and is in a great area. Like another day, that's me. You know, like there'll be other times when Shawsey's up there and I'm deeper. So it's just kind of, it just depends on where the ball is and what side the ball's coming from and who goes really. And we've got a good relationship, so it's quite good to get that. Sometimes it's not as easy to get a relationship with a midfielder, but it's been really good so far.
Yeah, I think to be honest, actually, I think for the whole team, really, I think over the summer window, I think it was a bit of a difficult one in that a lot of players did come slightly later in the window. So I guess that does that kind of make it harder to kind of gel initially? But I think obviously you're doing it now, as we can definitely see with Shaw. But with players coming in dribs and drabs towards the end of the window, does that make it a little bit more tricky to kind of get that gelling?
Yeah, because you need that time to kind of, well, the earlier you get in, the better, because you've kind of got more, obviously, the preseason games to kind of get out the mistakes and clear the, like the errors and stuff like that. But to be fair, when Shawsey came in, although it was quite late, like I feel like Shawsey settled in really well and really quick. Like he just kind of went straight into Bristol and played really well, and then hasn't really looked back since. So yeah, to be fair, I think here it's been really good. I feel like everyone that's kind of come in settled in really well. It's a good group of lads as well. I think that definitely helps. Like everyone's really welcoming, and it's an enjoyable place to come every day.
Yeah, that's good.
That's because
Yeah,
we're a good club.
Yeah.
Just a little.
It's a strange one though, isn't it? Because if you look at some of the midfielders in this division, there are some very experienced and wily campaigners, particularly that you've been up against. And as you said, you and Liam have got a combined age of just about one Barry Bannon, haven't you? So, so you've done pretty well, really, because you've been playing. Like I say, if you look at the quality of the teams like Ipswich and Portsmouth and Derby, and they've got a lot of people who've been around and done it, in the Premier League and in the Championship. So you played against particularly the top 6 and top 8. They've got some players who've been, got lots of caps, etc., etc. Well, that's got to be good for your development, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think playing against the best midfielders in this league is only going to help, really. And I think, to be fair, me and Shawsy and Jake and everyone that's played in midfield ours as well, like everyone's really challenged them and caused them problems as well. I think they obviously at times have caused us problems, but I think we've gone and put them under a bit of the cosh as well. So, yeah, it's definitely good for me and everyone else's development as well.
Well, the one thing that we have got now in midfield is we've got particularly with Jake being back as well, we've got legs. We've got legs. You've all got 90 minutes in you, and I think this is only my personal opinion, but hopefully, as we go into the sort of like heavier months, that's going to your youth and your, if you like, your vitality and your exuberance. You're now getting the experience to go along with it, and I'm hopeful that that's going to stand us in good stead. What do you think, James?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we've got more creative options who can play different roles in that midfield than I've known as a Morecambe fan. Yeah. To me, it doesn't matter that people are young. There's nothing. Even Adam Mayer does not play like a youngster.
No.
And with the exception of the odd silly second yellow card, typically everybody's playing like really beyond their years. So I think it's great, and that for me is, along with just a genuine desire to never be beaten. That for me is what's causing us to compete in every game now, because no team can just control the ball and turn us over. They've got to look behind them. They've got to worry about what we're going to do, and that's down to all of those players who can do something with the ball in midfield. In the old days, we had 1 or 2 players who could do something with the ball in midfield. Now we've got a selection. We've still got Ash to come back as well, and so yeah. There's so many options in it. It's really encouraging.
Sorry, Joel, I didn't want to stop you. Have you got anything else for Jensen?
No, I think that covers it nicely. Thank you.
Well, moving it on. I think it's a point worth making that the next thing I was going to say, James, is obviously goal scoring. Got to be a good thing. He chatted with the fans after the game. He's been interviewed by everybody. I noticed on Twitter he put on he's finally got his Harry Kane shirt framed, etc. So that's great. The rebirth of Cole could be perfect. Ash Hunter coming back around just after Christmas. Again, that's going to be important. And if only for the simple fact that it gives us another option. And these are important things coming into the heaviest time, aren't they?
Yeah, massively. It's impossible for a team and a manager when, as much as you want as many young players on the bench as possible. When you look to the bench and you think, well, I'm not sure how we can change this against a team that's spending 10 million on their squad every season. But now we've actually got options on the bench and there's some depth there, and people can have a bit of a rest. It makes a huge difference. So yeah, as we come into the crucial part of the season, which is the next 15 games, yeah. It's really nice to have some depth. Really encouraging.
And Jensen, now Cole's on the score sheet. He got 26 last year. So are you hoping he's going to take the pressure off you and overtake you?
Yeah, hopefully. But I don't mind. I enjoy scoring, so I always want to try and score. But I think scoring the other night's really good for Cole. I think he's been probably trying to get a goal for a while, and it's long overdue. But I think, like, from what I felt from scoring at Oxford, like, it can take you a long way just getting off the mark. I think your confidence just trying to find the time to pull the trigger and just going out and do it just is a lot higher. And I think for Cole, obviously Cole's scored a lot of goals in his time, and yeah, it'll only do him good. And I think it'll be a good thing for the team as well. I definitely think he'll get a lot more.
I'm not suggesting for a moment that you pack in scoring, by the way.
No, I'm definitely not going to stop trying.
So have you got a target then? Now you're way ahead in the scoring charts. Do you actually set yourself a target? Did you have one at the start of the season? Have you been surprised how many? You said just then that you'd like to. You came to us with the idea that you'd like to score a few more, and you've certainly done that. So don't have to tell us, but I'm just asking.
No, I can't. To be fair, when I always try and set a record at the start of the season, like the start of last season, I just wanted to get a professional goal, and then this year, I always wanted better last year, but this year I came into the season with the mindset I want to get 6 this season, and then I've got 5 league goals and 6 in all comps, so I'm pushing for like 10 now. So 10's my number at the minute, and then if I get to 10, then I'll be pushing on.
10? You've got 5, and it's 5 games before the middle of the season, and you're young and you're improving. It's got to be 13 or 14, hasn't it?
Oh,
yeah,
no pressure.
No, I'll always push more, but once I get there, then I'll push it.
So looking at that, then, if we ever get a penalty, are you going to take it?
Yeah, I'm going to try to.
Yeah, I'm going to say, because I know Dylan, if he's on the pitch, he fancies himself as a penalty taker, and in the past, Cole's taken him. But I had a funny feeling you'd be saying, "Yeah, I think you've got the Lampard instinct that I'm going to get 1 million goals this season."
Yeah, I want to take them. I was saying to Jake the other week, like, just in general, I was saying, it should just be more common that midfielders should take pens, and he's like, 100% same. So if there's a pen soon, I'm going to try and take it. Try and get one earlier before Cole gets a few more goals, then he'll have it'll be his then. But I think if I can get one soon, then I'll definitely try and take it. Scored a good one the other night, so
yeah, banked it.
Yeah, yeah, don't. Yeah, that's if we ever get a penalty, but there you go. So we can only try, can't we? When it comes down to it, we don't get penalties, nobody has to take them, but sooner or later we will get one. And knowing that, it'll be a week on Friday when we actually play Exeter. So looking at the Exeter game, we've moved that to a Friday night. Did that surprise you? Because obviously other teams have moved theirs till, because of the England game, they've moved, other teams have moved to 1 o'clock on the Saturday. Or do you just think, well, you're not bothered, it don't bother you?
No, I'm not really fussed, to be fair. It's a game, and I just want to play. So it doesn't matter what time I'm playing or what day I'm playing, really. I'm just looking forward to it.
So you having selected England at the current time, is your dad watching the World Cup, or are you just teasing him?
No, he's watching it, to be fair. He's enjoying it. He just likes football, to be fair, so he's just watching all the games. But I'll give him a little bit of banter in there, but nothing too horrible.
Just before we came on air, I was just watching the sort of Brazil warm up, and a stat popped up. The 2018 World Cup, there was 1-0 in the entire tournament. We've had 4 already, and I was like, and I think I've sat through 90 minutes of each of them. To be honest, it's been. What's your thoughts on the World Cup so far, guys? Joel?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I've been in the office most of this week, so I haven't been able to quite watch them as much as I would have wanted. However, at the same time, there have been a lot of 0-0, so maybe I'm not missing out on too much. But a couple of good fun results, so isn't there? With the Saudi Arabia win and Japan beating Germany. So yeah, it's keeping me going in between the Morecambe games.
True enough. I watched Canada-Belgium last night, and I thought Canada were fantastic and Belgium were jammy. I was sat there with a mate, and I said, "This reminds me of Morecambe at Lincoln," because we were creating chances, and it was like hitting on top of his head and going wide, and I was like, ew. But James, you've been watching the games, or you've been working too busy too?
No, I've been following them. I've missed all the 0-0s, to be honest.
Oh, you jammy get.
And also, so in my head, all I've got is Germany lost, Argentina lost, France scored 7, we scored 6. As far as I'm concerned, it's an amazing World Cup. It's 0-0s.
Yeah, and I must admit the Portugal-Ghana game exploded on 65 minutes tonight, and I've got a TV set up in the dining room. So I'm banished there behind a blanket in the chair. And my missus was like, "You can come in the lounge and watch it if you want." I went, "No, it's crap. You don't want to watch it." And then it exploded. And I went in and she went, "Oh, what did it end up?" I went, 3-2. She went, "You said it was 0-0. after an hour. I said it was, but then it was a fantastic game. Just goes to prove, Jensen, you've got to have faith and stick with it, doesn't it? Ow. Anyway, I've just banged my toe there. Sorry.
We heard that. We heard that.
I know. I just banged it really badly. Brazil 2-0 up. There you go. That's and the second one was a bicycle kick. Fantastic goal. But then again, you will already know that because you're not listening to it live.
Yeah, you're bringing them all the important updates of the games that have already happened.
That's right. I just thought I'd update you three.
It's news for me. This is news for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, all I've done now is completely and utterly ruin Jensen watching the highlights later.
It's all right. I'll get it spoiled anyway when I walk downstairs anyway, so it's all right.
All right, okay, that's all right then. I'll let you off. So moving on, James, we'll chat a little bit about any activity that's coming out from the club. I noticed there's a couple of more jobs gone up this week.
Yeah, we're recruiting into different roles and different positions. I think there's probably been a lot spoken recently about our lack of funds, but the organisation continues on, and we would therefore fully refute any comments that have been made that there's nothing to be done. So yeah, recruiting to key positions, encourage as many people as possible to apply, and that's obviously important for the whole future of the football club. More generally, I mean, Man United and Liverpool are for sale, so we're in good company. And that's
we're considerably cheaper. Anybody out there thinking of Man United or Liverpool, we are considerably cheaper.
Like considerably, I'm not sure that word does it justice. It's like seriously. No, we are, but we're working through that process, and we're meeting people, and we're taking it all very seriously and making sure that we're looking after the interests of the football club. So that's all good. And then the final thing I've got to ask is and this is a heartfelt appeal to our away fans who have been fantastic, whether it's 26 away in the Pizza Domino's Cup, or whether it's hundreds away at bigger games. But please damaging the toilets, because there was some damage in the toilets at Lincoln on Saturday, despite the fact they did a great job of looking after us. There was some damage a few months ago at Accrington as well. And what ends up happening is we pay for it because we're a decent bunch of human beings. So when our fans damage the stadium and the away game, Morecambe pays for it, and that's really, really silly. So every toilet door that gets smashed, every system that gets ripped off the wall, it's a toilet door or a system that could get repaired or replaced at Morecambe. So please, heartfelt appeal to all fans: stop being that, because we're not that. That's not Morecambe. That's not us. So yeah, that's it's a long way departed from what Jensen was talking about, the development of a young footballer. I'm talking about toilet systems and toilet doors. But really, seriously, don't be a dick when you go away. Just enjoy the football. Yeah,
it's a bit of a sad note to sort of be leaving us on that one. So
let's up it.
Yeah, I'll try and cheer us up a bit. Cheer us up a bit, because moving to the trust stuff, Joel. Absolutely fantastic response for the children's toy appeal for Christmas, and that's still going, but it's about to close, I believe, after the weekend. Is that right?
Yeah, there's not too much longer on it left, but we are still collecting at the moment. So you can get in touch via email, via Facebook Messenger. You get in touch to ask about where our kind of local drop-off points are, because we are still. I think we've done really, really well with that this year, but keep them coming even further, because the more that comes in, the better. And I think we're still doing collections for local schools at the moment as well. So it's
I think James wants to go to the toilet. He put his hand up.
No. I was just going to say that like we're closing the end of this year's appeal, but anything that gets donated after the cut-off date goes in Joanna's loft and comes out next Christmas.
Oh, does it? There you go.
So seriously, there is no point at which the toy donating stops. In fact, I would wager that Joanna would be happy if somebody buys a whole lot of toys in the sale in January and sticks them in the pot for next year. So yeah, keep that going. It's wonderful to see. It doesn't stop. It just keeps going.
So obviously, the one thing we haven't discussed is that there is no game this Saturday. The guys have got a well-earned weekend off. I hope you spend it wisely. Jensen, with just sort of quiet time with the family, dog walks, etc., etc. James, I expect you to be giving your family some time because you don't see them at the weekends because you're always doing football. And Joel, I expect you at your age to be going out and getting blind drunk. Those are I'm issuing the orders. What do we feel about that?
I can get along with that. Yeah, sure.
James?
Yeah, very happy with that. Although I'm really looking forward to a couple of the games coming up after this weekend.
Yeah, true. But the one thing that's sort of like binding it all together is obviously we're still 4 games a day on the World Cup. So if it is chucking it down, you can't take the dog out. That's my excuse.
Absolutely.
Jensen, thank you very much for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you'll go back to the dressing room. And Connor Ripley came on and he said there's so many people secretly listen to this and don't let on because they want to know what people think of them. So now you've got to go back and say, oh, they're really nice. You should go on there because we are really nice. We don't, we're big fans of Morecambe FC. And I know that obviously you'll go on to have hope you go on to have a fantastic glittering career and you'll look back on your time and say that I loved my time there. That was a great club. We loved it there. And I did my bit because I scored 20 goals that season, that sort of thing. From our point of view, we'll probably still be doing this when you've retired. So, and then when you have retired, you can come back on and I can say, bloody hell, that World Cup goal you scored was nearly as good as, you never know, Jensen. But thanks for coming on. Joel, thank you.
No, I hope so too, to be fair.
Well, exactly. We can only try, can't we?
No.
And James,
Exactly.
a pleasure as always. This has been ShrimpNet. This is episode 16, I think. I've lost track. I've forgotten to write it down. So I think it's episode 16. We'll have a talk whether we're going to, depending what happens in the World Cup, we might have one next week, a bit of a World Cup special. I don't know. Because there's nothing to talk about unless we sign Ronaldo between now and next Thursday. We shall see. But
Bad
thanks for
dressing room
listening.
presents, keep away. Yeah, bad dressing room presents now.
Yeah. Well, he got a penalty for Portugal, and then
Cole Sarah holding up the ball as well.
If he got a penalty for us, Jensen would take it. He wouldn't like that.
Can't let him boss you around.
So there you go.
Ronaldo.
Yeah, honestly, imagine that. We sign Ronaldo, he gets cropped, and Jensen goes, "Give it here, sunshine."
I'm having it.
I take penalties for Morecambe. Thanks very much. Yeah. Actually, I think it'd be worth paying 100 grand just for that 1 week, just to see if it would happen. But anyway, never mind. So thanks for listening. Join us again, possibly next week, possibly not. We'll discuss that. This has been ShrimpNet. Thanks for listening.